Could you still make a dashboard out of it though?
Yeah, you can make a table, right? So that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Is this... For some reason, I'm not able to share my second screen. Display 1, it's not able to, it doesn't switch to display 2. Okay. All right, let me share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
There it is. Create a group in Skype.
Okay, cool. All right. One second. Okay, meanwhile, go to Sales Cloud and just tell me what are all, just make a little note of all the objects that you see there. Okay.
Do you mean Sales Console?
No, just sales.
So Sales Cloud is the sales, just all by itself?
Correct, Sales Cloud is just sales, yeah. Now that's a sales app in theory, because Sales Cloud, you would buy it as a separate license package. Because we have a free developer environment, we are able to access a lot more. But if you're paying, you pay separately for service and for sales. There's Marketing Cloud, there's Commerce Cloud. Those are the 4 popular clouds. Okay, all right.
So on my sales, I'm seeing opportunities, leads, tasks, files, accounts, contacts, campaigns, reports, dashboards, chatter.
Okay, all right.
Lots of things.
Who else is on the call? I saw Suzanne. Who else is there?
Yeah.
Okay, and let me see. How do I? Yes. Okay, give me 1 second. All right. All right. Now, what do you see?
I'm seeing nothing shared. There. Salesforce. Login.salesforce.com.
Okay, I see Jyotsna on the call and Shobha as well. All right. Okay, guys, we'll get started. So please go ahead and log into your account. Let's change the display one more time. All right, Abhiram, are you logged in? Okay, log into this too. That way you can hear the conversation. All right. Okay, you can still see my screen, right?
Yeah.
The work hard one.
Yeah. All right, let me close that. Let's go here. Okay. All right, let me log in. Okay, is everybody able to log into their Salesforce account?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So if you go to your app launcher, if you don't see Sales app, you would simply click here and that takes you to Sales. Okay. Now console is simply a version of the Sales. It's basically meant for people who are doing a same job day in and day out and want to work with a limited amount of information. So you try to streamline the clicks for them. Right. So let's say you're in airline reservation, you're not going to accounting page, you're not going to HR page. You want just a small set of apps all stitched neatly together for you. That's when you use the console. Okay. Right now we'll just use the sales app, so everything is neatly spread out, and you of course can add a lot more. Right. So we see various entities here. So what I'll do is I'll just take 2 minutes to go through some of the key concepts. And I think we did it for Service Cloud. Let's go to Sales Cloud. And my goal is to try and cover Sales Cloud over the next 2-3 days. So we go in fairly in depth in this.
Okay.
admin syllabus. So it's a fairly important topic. Okay, and if for some reason, if you're not able to find it, you can just search for Salesforce Admin Certification Exam Guide, and you should be able to look that up. That'll give you an idea of what the percentage is. So here's your exam outline, and as you can see here,
14%.
14%, whereas the service and support is 13. Now remember, this is sales and marketing, so we'll explore both of them in this. Okay. Now, okay, first let's start out with the fundamental. What's the difference between sales and marketing? Abhiram. Yeah. See, usually you want to think about salespeople. Yeah, so that's good. So you want to think about sales. This is marketing, right? So salespeople are typically out in front of the customers, right? And where are the customers? They are not in your office, right? Let's say you make projectors, right? Or you make photocopiers, scanners. The customers are not in your office. Where are they? Shobha, where are the customers? Okay. All right. Jyotsna, where are the customers? The customers are there in their offices, not your office, right? So you have to go to them, right? So typically most companies have two groups. They have a marketing group and they have a sales group. Marketing group is typically the one, so I'll just so you guys have some context, right? So I'll draw it out like this. So these guys are out in the field, right? Field is basically, outside your company. They are out in the field, and marketing is typically in the headquarters, HQ, right? So they are in your company. So let's say you're making projectors, they sit in your office, right? That doesn't mean they don't do anything. They have an important piece of the job too. So we look at those pieces and then we'll go to the process, right? So these guys have to go and sell, right? So they have to go and sell to various people, right? So if they want to go and sell, let me change this to a different color, right? If they have to go and sell, first of all, you have to figure out who to sell to, right? So these guys figure out who are the good customers to sell to, right? So they do leads and rating of the customers, right? And they try to generate some opportunities, right? But typically, the sales rep is responsible for handling opportunities. Opportunities are opportunities for selling. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Right. Now, the other thing that the team does it is, for example, they send out advertisements, right? They do advertisements. They could be on the internet, like Facebook. They may do paper mails. So if you check your mailbox, you have some. That's not the
TV,
salesperson
radio.
dropping them. Right. So yeah, so that's not the salesperson doing it. It's the marketing team that's doing it. They are trying to figure out who can potentially buy. And once they figure out, they pass on the information to somebody who goes out and talks to them. Right. So these guys are doing ads. These guys are doing campaigns. So what's the difference between an ad and a campaign? Now you have to advertise your campaign too sometimes, right? So campaign could be, let's say you're doing a discount, right? So that's a campaign, or you want to offer a new product and you want to try it out in a new place, right? So anytime you're trying to get the word out, you're trying to engage people, that's a campaign. Okay. Now, a salesperson is responsible for opportunities and they are responsible for providing quotes to the customer, right? And to actually take the orders. So what's the difference, Kevin, between a quote and an order?
Can
you hear me?
An order sounds like a customer is purchasing something.
Right.
A quote sounds like it's more about the price.
Yeah, it's more about the price. It's also like a proposal, right? So you say, hey, we want to, let's say we are in the business of selling projectors and printers, right? So let's say we are primarily focusing on the education market, right? So we go out and say, okay, then the marketing team might say, you know what, okay, hey, there are these schools in some rich neighborhood where they're likely to buy. There are schools in the poor neighborhood. Maybe you need to offer them some discount and so forth. So they are the ones, helping you identify your customers, and then you go out to them and make a proposal. And then if they accept the proposal, then you provide an order. Now for them, see, these guys together are not the ones making the product. Typically, the manufacturing team is making the product, but then these two are partnering to sell it, right? So that's an order. This is an order for what? Order for your companies. What is the order for, Abhinav? What is the order for? Company's product or services, right? So depending on what you're selling summer camps or you're selling printers, so they take those orders, right? So the order is for a specific purpose. Makes sense? So everybody is working to make this happen. All right. Now let's see what else is there. We see contacts and accounts. So Shobha, what's the difference between a contact and an account?
Account is like creating an account.
Account is an account, okay. But you have to, what is an account? You
Contacts
may,
like,
yeah.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it is a hospital,
Yeah.
hospital is account.
Okay, cool.
In hospital, like we have so many contacts.
What's an example of a contact?
Maybe like so many, like maybe doctors, patients.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. So right now we are in the business of selling projectors. So we are saying, okay, hey, that's really good, Shiva. So what we are is we are in the business of selling projectors. So we sell it to accounts, and we are selling it to educational accounts. That means schools, universities, after schools, and so forth. Right. So these are the accounts, and within accounts we have people working. So think of account as anything that has a building. That's an account. Anything that has a physical office is an account. And then people who work at that account is a contact, right? Now for Amazon, this what happens is Amazon might sell to companies. They also sell directly to people, right? To customers. So that's a B2C. Most businesses are B2B, right? So they are a business and they're selling to business. If you hear B2B, what does it mean, Abhinav? Right. And if they are selling directly to people, then it is a business to customer. If I have projectors, right? Then I am typically, selling to, if I have large projectors, overhead projectors, then, people may not have them in their homes as much, or I'm selling something that's commercial grade, right? Like the smart screens, then I am a B2B business, right? I'm a business, I'm selling to other businesses. Okay, so contacts could be like a principal or the office a manager and so forth. So these are the contacts. Okay, now what else? We talked about leads, we talked about opportunities, we'll come to files and so forth. We talked about campaigns, we talked about dashboards and reports yesterday. So Suzanne, what's the difference between a report and a dashboard?
Report is data, and the dashboard is more of a pictorial view of that data.
Yeah, perfect, right? So yeah, so that's what it is. So a dashboard has two things. It has a data source, which is a report, and then it also is there a good representation, a pictorial representation. Like it could be a chart, a graph, and trending graphs and so forth. Okay. So we have some of those items. Then we look at, okay, what else is there? Then you also have products, right? That's something we have not covered here. There's products and product forecasts, right? So if you're a company, then you're interested in knowing, okay, hey, I have all these products. How do I sell them, right? And what is so there may be other team members who are like maybe somebody, a senior manager, they are interested in understanding what is it that we are selling, how much we are selling, and so forth. So then you're interested in two pieces. You're interested in products, right? And then you have forecast of the sales of those products, right? So they are the ones who are interested in forecast, because sales reps work for what, right? So while the marketing team and the manufacturer, they all work for, salary, sales reps work on commissions, and their commission depends on what? Right? The commission depends on sales. So the more sale they make, the more money they make. Right? That's why forecasting is important. It helps you identify how many reps you need, how many products you need. So forecasting is absolutely critical for businesses. Okay, and these guys are also the ones typically who are interested in reports and dashboards. But reports and dashboards anybody could use, but that's what it is, reports and dashboards. Okay, so does this give you some context to the Sales Cloud? Yep. Okay, so now where do we start? So I'm going to start numbering this. So first of all, before you get customers, before you get people at those, organizations, you start out as a lead, right? Now, I know we did lead in the past a little bit. Josna, have you worked on a lead before?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So then that's perfect. What we'll do is we'll move really fast. We'll create a quick lead and then go through the rest of the process. Okay. So I'm expecting you guys to follow tab for tab. So go ahead and create a new lead. Okay. Now remember, we are trying to sell projectors. Okay. So let me actually take that back. Let me start with creating a product. Okay. Can you search for an app called product? Okay, so let's see if you already have some products in the system. So it gives you an idea of what is in a product. Now products, you could be selling simple products that are just let's say you're selling in the business of selling just one or two items, right? But if you are running an Apple store or if you're running Costco, then you have hundreds of products. They are all bundled differently, right? And then some organizations have special discounts for businesses, special discount for government organizations, for military. So you may have different types of catalogs as well. Okay, so that's what this is. So we'll start with the simplest idea of what a product is. Okay, so go ahead and click on a product and we'll call this, create a new product, please. Okay, so I'll call this projector P1. Okay, so I'm making a projector P1. It's active. That means people can actually use it in opportunities. People can use it in orders, in invoices, everywhere, right? So that's what active means. Okay. If you inactivate it, that means nobody can choose that product, right? Because sometimes, like if you go to an Apple store and say, okay, I want to buy an iPhone 6, they'll say, okay, it's not active anymore. We cannot sell it, right? So that's what this controls. Okay, now product code, I can do P1 just for simplicity for now. Product family is where you're trying to group them, so don't worry about it right now, but there are ways you can configure it. And then this is just say, okay, projector basic, or so it should be basic projector. Okay, so you have a basic projector for small rooms. And then you may also sell large projectors for the auditoriums and huge halls and movie theaters and so forth, right? So we have small classrooms. Okay, so I save it. Okay, and then I can add. So I have one product. Let me go in and add one more product. Okay, so then I'll say this is a projector P2. This is also active, and then I'll just say P2, and this is for projector for, let's say, Audi. For now, we'll just keep it simple. We'll go to other things, auditorium. Okay, so this is the large projector. Obviously, the prices of them will be different, right? Okay. So as you can see here, right now, I have very basic information about what a product is. Okay, did you guys add a couple of products?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have two products? Okay, cool. Now, as you saw, right? So if you go here and select for recently viewed, those will typically be the two that you created. And then if you click on this, you can edit or delete it. Right now, these are both active. That means you can use both of them. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a price book. Okay, now, like I said, if you're a company, you could be selling it to schools, public and private. So you may have different pricing. You may sell it to universities, different pricing. You may sell it to, like after school programs, different pricing, right? So what you can do is you can create a price book. Okay, so I'll say these are public school supplies. Okay, so that's your price book for the public school. So this is was everybody able to find a price book?
You might have to search in the app search.
Yep. Okay, so what I did is you just go here, go to the app launcher and just search for price, and then you'll get price books. Okay, so I have a price book here. Then I can go to related. I can add products to that price book. All right, let me know if you're just not able to follow along.
Was it standard or not?
Book? So I did not change it.
Yes,
I did not
yes.
make it standard. Yeah, so I did not make it standard right now. So for some reason, I was not able to check it. So maybe there's additional criteria for that. So we'll look at that. Okay, so for now, what I have is I go to related, and then let me add some products. Okay, so I know my products start with the word projector. Where is it? This is you haven't viewed any price book entries recently. Okay, this is a price book. All right.
I'm not seeing it.
And price book. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me take a look at this to see. Okay, so meanwhile, go ahead and add a price book. And then make 2 separate price books. Okay, so what I can do is, of course, I can start over. So I can go back here, go here and click on new price book, right? But I can also, let me just add it to the navigation bar. That's what I did there. And then I have the public school supplies. Let me make a new one. I can either make a new one or I can clone. So what's the difference, Shobha, between cloning and making a new one?
Cloning is a duplicate.
Exactly. Right. So when you click on clone, you're making a duplicate. It copies some of the information for you. So instead of public schools, so let's say I say private schools, right? And then this is private school. Okay. All right. So now we have a couple of products and we have a price book. We need to, let me see if I can relate to the price book from the product. Okay. So was everybody able to add a couple of products and price books? So I can select these two. Let me do one at a time. Something that I'm missing. All right, we'll come back to the pricing part tomorrow. Okay, so at the minimum, what you need to understand is you could have different products and you could have different price books associated to those products. Right? That way, even though I have both projectors, the small P1 and P2, under both catalogs, I could have different pricing. So I'm pricing public schools different from private schools. Does that make sense? Okay. So public schools are government schools, private schools are obviously private. Okay. All right. Now let's go to leads. And let me go ahead and add a new lead. So I'll add one school here. Okay. So let's say this is Professor John. I'll do John's. Okay. Right. So there's a professor, and this is his phone number. 1000, and the company he belongs to is insured private, right? So it is a insured private school, and his role is principal. So is everybody able to add a quick lead? It doesn't have to go through a lot of detail right now, but you need to understand that the leads come from some sources. So tracking who recommended it or where you got this information is important, right? So sometimes you could get a web list. You could also, maybe they called you, right? So it could be a phone inquiry. They might have called and said, okay, hey, we are looking for projectors. Can you send us a quote? That's how it typically starts out, right? And then the business these guys are in, let's say, is education. Yeah. Okay. And then the lead status is open, not contacted. We can look at rating to see, okay, hey, are they really eager to buy? Then it's hot. If they're not as eager, it is warm or cold. Does that make sense? Now you can also automate this calculation. We can look at that. We can write a formula which will say, okay, hey, if the revenue is more than, let's say, $100,000, right? And the lead title is, let's say, principal, right? Then, this is the big school, let's say $1 million, for example, a big school that's their revenue, not what you're going to get, but that's the revenue for that lead, right? Or for the school, St. Jude's private school, right? So I'll just say Jude or this is John at jude.com. Okay. All right. So I created a lead, and let me go here. Okay, so I have a lead. I've rated it as hot. Number of employees is 50. You can add all of these to your roles. Okay. All right. Okay, you have all the basic information. I'm just going to go ahead and write down the address. So let's say this is in Simi Valley, First Street, and Simi Valley. Okay. All right. Product interest. I need to see how I can add that product here. So we'll get to that. Okay, not able to associate amount either. Okay, so now let's go ahead and save the product. No, sorry, save the lead. So it gives you a message here that disappears, right? Now, this panel here is called a compact layout, where you can get some key pieces of information about the lead, their email address, phone number, and so forth. This, of course, is also customizable. Then, what are these steps? Avina, what are these 4 steps? Were you able to create a lead? Go ahead, click create a lead. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Right. So these are stages or statuses of a lead. So the lead can go through various stages. Right. So now, okay. So do you guys remember what these are? What is a new task and logging a call? What does it mean, Kevin?
A new task is like sending an email to someone, asking them to contact the lead, something like that.
Okay. And
logging a call sounds like it's recording a call.
Recording call. You're essentially recording notes from the call. Okay. So that's basically what you're doing. Okay. Now, when you make a call, you can say, okay, hey, I call them, and then, they requested a quote. Right? So let's say you call them, you record that information, and when you save, you can also indicate, which account it is for. Right now, this is still a lead, so this information would be created into accounts later on. So I'm gonna just go ahead and click on save, right? And then because they requested a quote, what would be the next action item for me, Jyotsna? So I found this lead. Remember, I'm the company that's selling these projectors. So the
Yeah.
principal, Johns Hopkins, called me and said, hey, I'm interested in buying projectors for my auditorium, right? So I logged that call. So if you go to my call history, you will see that I logged the call, right? I can click on the call and I can see the details. And it tells me that those details, if they have any attachment, I can add attachments at that point. Okay,
We need to send the price details and everything.
right? So that becomes your task. So you can create a new task.
Yeah.
Right? So you say, okay, send task to Professor Johns Hopkins, right? And then you set a target date. So let's say this is your target date. And right now, you can, if you have multiple team members, you can assign to them. I think in my case, I have 2, so I'm going to assign it to Aditi, and then I'll say, waiting on someone else, or I could say in progress. So it depends on what's the status of the task. Typically, even if you say not started, that's good enough, right? Because once you assign it to this person, then this person will take care of sending the code. Send not task, but send a code. Send a code on 2 P2s. Right? These are the larger projectors, so we'll send a code for those projectors. And then you save it. So now you have multiple actions that are tied. You have a call, you have a task, right? What else can you do? You can also create an event associated with it. So you say, okay, go ahead and set up an appointment, or you can also send an email to this person. Okay. Now, this email address is based on what I entered in the lead, right? This is the address, john@stjude.com. Right? So if I send an email, then it goes to them and I get a blind carbon copy. Okay. All right. Now, event is basically any activity. Event could be, this could also be meeting to demo projector P2, right? And show differences between P1 and P2. So I'm creating a new event. Can I request everybody to create a task, a log, a call log, an event, and an email very quickly? You can also schedule it for when it's happening. If it's an all-day event, you would indicate that and the times would go away. But if it's not an all-day event, then you would have a start date and an end, start time and an end time. So let's say this is happening in the morning sometime. Let's say 10:30 to 11:30. That's good enough, right? So I can now save this record. So you will see here, these are happening chronological, right? In a reverse chronological order. First I made the call, then I did a meeting, right? So these all show up here. These are upcoming tasks because you are asking, in this case, Aditi to send a quote. Yeah. All right. So you have those items. If you can look at the details here, you have phone number, their role, and their annual revenue, and all the other details about this company. Okay. So you have a details tab. And then the activity tab is tracking this information. So what is chatter?
It's where you can contact through the chat as well.
So you can contact the customer through the chat only if they are using the same Salesforce organization. That means they are using the same license of the Salesforce, right? But typically you're doing chatter. You could do chatter with customers too, but most of the time you're doing chatter with your colleagues, right? So here, let's say I want to ask a question, then I can basically do @ it's like Twitter,
It's like an internal company Twitter.
right? So I can then ask a question. Can you fax the code? okay, instead of email. So if you do that, then let me check actually why this ad is not being recognized. So typically it lights up. So okay, cool. So looks like in the subject it's not, but in the body it is. Okay, so go ahead and create a question, please. You want to get comfortable with these topics. Chatter is for internal communication. So did you, Abhiram, create a lead? Yeah. What else did you do? Task, event, email, calling a log, everything. So can everybody do this chatter? So that way, if I log into another computer with Aditi's account, because the developer organizations only have 2 active accounts. Okay, I can create a lot of accounts, but only 2 people can access this organization at a time. Right? So now, right now, each of us are on our own organization, our own licenses. Okay, so I can assign the task to Aditi, and then I can ask details. Okay, so that way she immediately gets notified and she can respond to it. So I can then just ask. So here, if you notice, when I'm so let's say I want to ask a question. So here you will see whether it will go to only the team members, or it goes to everybody who's using this Salesforce account and so forth. So you can control it. All right. Okay. Now that's chatter, and then sometimes you may have news associated with it, and it can pull data from various sources. So we are in the projector business for education industry. So what kind of news would the company be interested in showing us? So news about projectors and schools and right. Like for example, if you're trying to sell something this quarter, they'll, of course, the news will tell you that everything is closed. So you'll have to start planning for the next school year. Right? Okay, so we got this. Now what I want to do is I want to just quickly go through the next status. So from open not contacted, I can have working contacted because I already reached out to them. So update the status, please. And then let's go ahead and convert. Now, if you want to convert, there are a couple of ways of doing it. So Suzanne, what is the first way to convert these lead?
Convert.
What am I doing? Why am I converting the lead, and what am I converting it to?
You're converting the lead to an opportunity.
I think it converts into 3 different things all at once.
Okay, contacts or accounts. You're on mute.
Jalasi, you're muted.
It's really strange. I don't know why. I'm logged into my Salesforce account, right? But for some reason, it shows me as AA. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. So we have this. So one option is, you can go click here. The other one is you can click on the drop down and convert. Can everybody quickly convert, please? Now, the reason we are revisiting this, earlier, we viewed leads in isolation, lead and lead conversion, but I want you to see leads in the context of a sales cloud, right? So this is the first piece. Now, rating we did manually, but you could also do using computer algorithms, using advanced analytics and artificial intelligence. So ratings could either be manual or formula based. Formula based is of course a machine doing it again manually, but you could also have AI, which is what is Einstein. Okay, so if you hear about Einstein analytics or Einstein lead scoring, that's what this is. Okay, so it will score the lead based on historically what kind of leads have converted, right? What kind of leads are more likely to give you sale versus not, right? So here, when I click on convert lead, what are the three pieces of information I see? Convert lead, please. What are the three pieces of information I see? I see the school, account, contact, and opportunity. You can also modify this here if it makes sense. And right now, and then it goes to closed converted. So I can go ahead and convert it. And when you convert, the lead record basically disappears. Okay, unable to convert lead that is in use by workflow. So looks like we created a workflow in the past year. So we'll have to go back and fix that. Okay. All right. Let me go check the workflow. So for those of you who are having the same trouble, can you go to setup? Go to setup and turn off the workflow. So you need to turn off the workflow if you're making some changes, or if you're trying to load a bulk of data, then you want to go to workflow and find out what object are we working on. We're working on lead, right? So what you want to do is you want to go to workflows and see what are the workflow rules or the workflows that are active, right? So right now, this is talking about email update to a lead. This is a quick review of for those of you who did workflow earlier, right? So you can have the name of the rule, right? So this one is basically saying as soon as you create a lead, send them an email, right? So right now this is stuck here because there's a 1 hour rule, right? So it's waiting for an hour and then it's you cannot trigger new event. But the point here being that the workflow is interfering with our ability to convert it. So for the time being, what I'll do is I'll basically deactivate the workflow. Okay. And you can always come back and activate it. And you'll notice that when you deactivate, the active symbol goes away. Okay. So let me come back to my other tab. So this is my setup tab and this is my apps tab. So I come into the app and let me just refresh it just to be sure. And go here and convert. It asks me all these options and unable to convert lead. That is, the lead itself is being in use by the let me check if there's anything else that's preventing it. Otherwise, we can move on to the next topic and then I'll come back to that. Actions.
Email alerts, maybe?
Email alerts.
Email update.
Email update. So let me see if I need to disable this as well. Okay, it is inactive. So the underlying rule is inactive, so that should not matter. But I think the object is already in queue when we created it. That's why. Okay, is everybody having the same issue, or are you able to mark it as complete? Are you able to?
I converted mine.
You converted yours.
Mine is
Okay, what
converted.
about? Yeah, Jyotsna converted as well.
Mine
Shobha.
is also like converting after deactivating the lead.
Yeah, after deactivating the workflow, right? Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, actually, I'll go ahead and delete it. I'll come back to this. We can revisit the workflow. We cannot delete. See, this is currently pending action, so that's why. Okay, so I need to look at the queue and I can maybe get rid of the item from that queue. So for now, I'll leave it as it is. We'll look at it later. So, okay, so everybody's good.
Separately make your own contacts and accounts.
Yeah, I can do that. So for now, I don't need that. But for those of you who have created it, so you should be able to see accounts, you should be able to see contacts, and you should be able to see the opportunity. Okay, now just like lead has a status, so what were the statuses of the lead?
Four different stages. They start out open, not contacted. Closed and converted. There's no educated.
You're on mute.
To mute. Okay. All right. Yeah. So basically, what I was saying was you can have more than four statuses that you see. So you can basically each company can define your own. So like for example, in my previous organization, this is what they had. They would have new, and then their Salesforce or the marketing teams would contact them, educate them, and once they have some context, then they can decide whether they want to proceed or not. And sometimes they are disqualified because they don't have the insurance or they don't have money or whatever the reason, you can disqualify them, right? Okay. All right. So this is your lead. Similarly, opportunities also go through various statuses, right? So now what you can do is, now that you have a lead that got converted into an opportunity, you can open that up. In my case, I'll see if I can open one of the existing opportunities. Okay. So your opportunity may be in a different stage than mine. You can also have your own stages. Now, where would you define this? Or let's go to leads for a second. So let's say, remember I was talking about having, these statuses, right? If I want to change them, Shobha, where would I go? Because I don't see anything here on the lead
Maybe we can
status.
go to change status. I don't
If
know.
I go to change status, I'm only jumping from one to another, right? So I
Oh,
can go right. So I can go here and mark. So that means I went from working to open, or I can go from open to working, right? So I can do that. So if I want to change the different statuses, that means end users cannot do it, right? Who can do it? Developers and administrators can do it, right? So that
That's
means I need
part
to
of
go to
setup.
setup. Exactly. So I go to setup and I want to work on the lead object, right? So can everybody go to their setup, please? Go to object manager and search for lead. And sure enough, you'll find the lead object. Open the lead object and go to fields and relationships. And one of the values is status. So let's search for status. Okay, is everybody able to locate their object in the object manager? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So now the status I'm interested in is the lead status. So I'm going to click on the lead status. And right now, what are the values it has? Open, not contacted, working, close, converted, close, not converted, right? And I want to change them to these. So I can say one, close last, right? And then I have new, contacted, educated. I also have disqualified. So I can go in here and modify them. So where my very first status could be new, right? And I'll just say new and save. That's my new status. And then after new, I have contacted. Okay, are you guys able to make these changes? Contacted and save. And the next one is educated. So I'm gonna go and add a new one and call it educated. And I'll have to remember to order it. So educated. I also want to add disqualified. All right. Now everything it looks okay, but these two are not the way I would like them to be. So I'm gonna call this closed one. Closed one is a converted status, so that's why this one has a checkbox. And then the last one is closed last. Okay. And I can save this and I can also order them, right? So I'm gonna click on reorder and I can move them around. So new, contacted, after contacted, I want it to be educated. So I can move it up. And then disqualified can be right after new if I wanted to, or I can have it at the end of educated. Okay. Or it can even be an end state. I'll leave it right in the middle there. Okay. Then I save. It also shows you what your default status is. So what does default mean, Shobha? Default is,
Default
without set.
means
Go ahead.
without any changes.
Exactly. Without you selecting anything, by default, it will be, new status. That's what it is, right? So now if I go to lead and let's say I click on a lead again and I go to, let's say, now you'll notice that it has different values. Even for the John Hopkins, now I have to figure out what status is it in. So it's in new, contacted. I can keep going to different statuses here, right? So that's how you modify. And the same thing holds true for opportunities as well. All right. So how many of you have been able to successfully change the list of values?
I change.
Okay. So just like we have statuses of the lead.
Muted again.
So, okay. I don't know what the deal is there, but I'll try to fix it next time. Stages for opportunity. So Jyotsna, which one comes first, opportunity or lead?
Lead.
Lead comes, right? So
We, we can't hear you, Tulsi. Mm.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's talk about the order in which things happen. So you first have your lead, right? And then your lead may get converted, right, into an opportunity. And the opportunity would then require, maybe a quote, right? And the quote in turn is based on products. right? You're sending a quote of products and prices, right? Or prices of products and quantities of products, right? So that's what you're doing. And then once your quote is accepted, what do you have? You have an order, right?
If you change the background to yellow, you should change the text to black.
Yeah, I agree. Is that any better? Okay, all right, this might.
Close enough.
Close enough, yeah. All right, so where were we? Yeah, so we got these. Okay, let me see. Now, you see something called submit for approval here. What do you think that is, Shobha?
Maybe it's like approved.
So what happens is sometimes you see if you're a sales rep and somebody asks for a discount, sometimes you're able to give some discount, but typically what do they say, right? They'll say, I'll have to check with my manager, right? That's what this is.
Yes.
So depending on the level of discount, you can have multiple levels of approval.
Okay.
Okay. Now submit for approval. Again, if you go to our lead here, and then you can also check, that would be one of the values that you can control. Okay, so in this case, submit for approval is a button, okay, or a workflow associated with it. Advertise fields. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just take a look at the layout.
Yeah, it's there under buttons.
Okay, I have submit for approval.
Submit for approval.
Yeah. All right, I'll come back to that. Okay, so you can essentially define what kind of logic you want, and we'll go through it when we talk about the approval process. Okay, so just like there's a workflow which can send an email or update a record, you can also set up rules for approval. So if you say, okay, hey, discount percent is 5, then there's no, you automatically approved, but discount percent is, let's say, more than 10, then it sets up a rule for approval. Okay. Then what I want to do is maybe just very briefly touch upon campaigns. Okay, now we did some campaigns in the past. Who participated in that?
I have.
You were there. Okay, good. So let's. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at campaigns briefly. Now the campaigns can have people. See, when you're doing campaigns, who do you include? Let's say you want to sell. Let's say you have a small shop. Right? Or you're selling projectors, who do you include? Let's say you have a new projector, you want to tell people about it, right? So what kind of people do you tell?
All your potential customers.
Right? One is potential
Students.
customer, right? So yeah, so in this case, it would be leads, right? So you would inform your leads, but you would also inform your existing customers, right? Because just because you bought it 4 years ago doesn't mean you're not going to need it. So typically your campaigns are associated with both leads and campaigns. Sorry, leads and contacts. So you can invite people to all right. So to participate in your campaigns. So let's very quickly create a campaign. So I think we created one in the past. I'll just do one more time. So this is, let's say, P3 promo, right? So let's say I have a new printer I want to talk about. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. And this could be a trade show or a webinar. Now that everybody's at home, there'll not be any trade shows, but let's say we are a webinar, right? So I want to just, inform everybody, give them a demo over Zoom, and then if they like it, I can ship it to them, right? So I can set it up. I can have the status. Like, let's say I want to schedule something for tomorrow. It ends tomorrow as well, right? And then I can indicate how much cost and how much revenue. So let's say I'm expecting $10,000 and it costs me $1,500, okay, to run the campaign. This is my budget, but I actually may vary and so forth, right? So, and then here, I mean, what does expected response mean? So let's say I contact 100 schools, maybe only like 20% of them may attend, right? So I'll put 15% as my expected response. And number of people I send this campaign out to, right? So let's say I send it out to 100 schools in the community. So how many am I expecting to respond? 15, right? So that's the RSVP. And people who actually participate in the campaign might be even less. Okay. So, okay, the campaign. Now, in the sales cycle, where is campaign happening? So this is my sales cycle, right? Or sales path. So I started with a lead, an opportunity, a quote, and an order. So at what point am I doing campaigns after they place the order?
Lead to opportunity.
Right? Exactly. So this is the stage I am primarily interested in having any kind of campaigns, right? This is where I can actually influence them. Yeah. Okay. So I have an opportunity, and as you see here, I can associate leads and contacts. So if you have, in my case, I still have the lead. John Hopkins is the lead. I can also add Bertha and Goofy, but you can add a couple of leads. Okay. And the member status can be sent. That means we send them an email or communicate it to them. I can also add some contacts, right? So let's say add a couple of contacts. All right. These are my 3 contacts. And I also have contacts. I think I created John Hopkins before. The current one is called Johns Hopkins. So I added like 5 contacts. So, all right. So 5 contacts and 3 leads. So together it is 8 leads. So campaigns have a child record called campaign members. Okay. So campaigns, so you add these, and once you associate, because you could have thousands of leads and hundreds of contacts, but then based on that you can create campaign members. Campaign members are people who were invited and they can participate. Now again, just like what we saw earlier, everything is a process, right? So here, what do you think is a process for a campaign? Suzanne?
Can you repeat that?
See, everything we saw, right? Lead has a process, opportunity has a process, the overall sales is a process or a path, right? So similarly, what I'm asking you is, what are the stages of a campaign?
Probable customers.
No, I'm talking about the campaign itself, right? See, we are not talking about customers right now. We are talking about a campaign. A campaign, let's say I want to do a webinar. What do I typically go through? I go through like planning, execution, and then tracking, right? So that's what we typically do. So everything in business is, if you don't remember the exact things, then you just have to remember that, this is what you're trying to do. You're trying to plan, execute, and track or verify or report. Right? That's what you want to do. As long as you're doing this continuously, then you improve your planning, improve your execution, and then as your tracking is through reporting and dashboards. Execution is actually doing the webinar. Salesforce won't do the webinar for you. You have to do the webinar. You have to talk about your product and so forth, right? But it helps with planning. right? Planning in terms of revenue, cost, inviting people, and then do a webinar, and then go back and check how many people attended. So if you look at it from a campaign member's perspective, right? So a campaign, this is for a sorry. All right, are you guys with me so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so we should wrap up in the next 4 minutes, okay? But I want to just give you a quick sense of now for campaign members, as you saw, right? So for the campaign, if I open the campaign members here, we have 8, and you can see that 3 of them are leads, the others are contacts, right? Now, if I only want to see contacts, what do I do? In this list,
Filters on the right.
yep, you can apply a filter. So if I want to only see leads, I can see leads. And then when I apply, I see 3 of them, right? So I want to revert back, or maybe go here and update the filter again. All right. Now, if you see here, each of these have a status, right? So let me go to the campaign member, right? So a campaign member. So right now I only have sent and responded, right? I can add more statuses. Again, if I want to add more statuses, all I have to do is go to the object manager. You don't have to do this right now, but later on after the class or anytime between now and tomorrow, you can do this, right? So you can go to the campaign member, fields and relationships, and what's the field, right? We are looking at the status field, right? So right now, as you will see here, status field has, you know, uh, sent, responded, but you can go in and change these. You can also update them. Okay. All right. So that's what it is. So a campaign member, again, just like the overall campaign itself, will go through various stages. So initially you send the invite, right? So this is invited. And then this is when they RSVP or respond RSVP, right? And then they attend, and then after they attend, maybe you have follow-on activities for them. But typically, whenever you're running an event, right, any kind of promotional event, you want to check how many people you invited, how many accepted, and let's say if for any of the events that you do. All right, either you're attending or organizing them, you're interested in who's invited, how many people. Even if you're hosting a party, this is typically how you do it. Yeah. All right, so that's what it is. And now you don't have to memorize the statuses. You just have to know that most of the statuses go through this, right? They go through invitations, acceptance, attendance. So this is execution. After they attend, you can run some metrics and see, okay, hey, was this a good choice of campaign members, or should we address the campaign to somebody else? Okay. All right, so that's at a high level, but then what we'll do is we'll go through some of the concepts in depth. We'll also cover a little more of the pricing, right? So that's one thing we need to cover. Pricing and price book will be the focus for tomorrow. Lead automation, see, lead automation is basically there are 2 types of automation with respect to lead, right? So one is loading of the leads. Right? So if you want to get leads, leads won't magically appear. You have to buy mailing lists, or you buy phone books and try calling people, or you buy a list from some organizations who say they, or you go to a trade show, that's where you get lists. So there are different ways of getting those lists. And once you get a bulk list, you can load them up, right? And for that, you can use a data loader or a data import wizard. Then once you have the leads, you can also automatically send them emails, either individual emails or bulk emails. So all that is possible through sales and marketing modules. All right. So we'll look at some of the automation here. We talked a little bit about the campaign management today. We'll go through content as well. Okay. Price book, content, and then if time permits, we'll revisit loading of leads. But are you guys comfortable with using the data loader? Did you try making a list? How many of you have never tried it before? All of you have tried it? Okay, so we can go through that the day after then, if you want to just quickly review it. Okay. All right. So then let's just go back here. So what I'll do is I'll try to post these slides also in the Google Drive, and Suzanne will give you access to those files using your Gmail. And then she'll also post some videos. Suzanne, were you able to do that?
No, but
Maybe in the next couple of days?
yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, that should be good. Okay. All right. Did you guys have any questions or comments right now?
I'm wondering why when we did the products, why
Yeah.
we couldn't make it show up wherever, what was it, the price books?
Yeah,
Like,
so
that was
one, there
weird.
was no pricing. Yeah, even at an individual product level, there was no pricing information. So I'm just going to go back and check if I'm using the right module or where the issue is. Sometimes, because these are developer accounts, they might restrict it in some ways. But let's take a quick second here. So if I'm here in objects, one way to check is, what kind of functionality I have is to look at product, right? So I can look at product and see if it has any kind of field called price. If it has, then we can go in and manipulate that. If it is not, then maybe we are using the wrong. See, right now this only has 12 fields. That tells me that something is off with this product. Maybe we are using the wrong object. I'll take a look at it. Okay.
I have different products in mine because
Okay.
I did one thing that involved making new products
Okay.
at some point.
Yeah. And were you able to add prices to it?
I don't think adding prices to it was part of the challenge. I think at some point I ran into an issue where I could not add new products and have the challenge work, and I had to go and try doing everything in Classic, and then it worked.
Okay. All right. Some of it may be restriction too, and that's good that you have tried that out. I'm gonna look at it tomorrow. Looking at price book entry. Price book entry also doesn't. It basically price book entry is tying a product to a price book. There's also a list price associated with it. So price book entry is probably the way to look at it. But I'm gonna just do a quick check, and we should be, back on track with that particular aspect. Okay, so far you have a decent idea of what these capabilities are, what is the typical sales process, and we looked at opportunity and lead. We created products and price books independently, but we need to now learn how to link them and include pricing in it. We did a little bit of campaign management, and we'll look at content also over the next day or two. Okay, all right, guys. If you have any other questions, you know how to contact me. Okay. Now, how many of you checked out a YouTube video on yesterday? It was just the three of you plus Abhiram. I know Jyotsna wasn't there. We looked at reports and dashboards. Did you guys watch any YouTube videos on reports and dashboards? Kevin, Suzanne.
I didn't.
You did not. Shobha.
I did, but very little videos.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Even if you spend, 10, 15 minutes, that's good. But for those of you who are targeting to do a certification by the end of the month, you have to absolutely spend a couple of hours at least. Okay?
Sure.
Cool. All right. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you very much.